passionate, driven, enthusiastic, euphoric. This is who we are as entrepreneurs. But how we leverage these incredible attributes to dream and build businesses that scale and grow is what this podcast is all about. Hello, I'm attorneypreneur Josh Brown, and welcome to Franchise Euphoria. Are you ready to get a complete business education for $100? Well, you should be. Today, I am thrilled to have Omar Zenhom and Nicole Baldinu from $100 MBA on the show to talk about business principles that are essential to running and growing a franchise and business. There are two components to the $100 MBA. First, the $100 MBA blog is where they regularly provide practical articles, tips, and videos to help you better understand business in the real world. Subscribe and get them sent for free to your inbox every single week. They also throw in, because they're nice people, a free full course from the $100 MBA. Second, the $100 MBA Show is a top-ranking business podcast where you can master the art of business with their daily 10-minute business lessons for the real world. There's no fluff. They're 10-minute episodes, and they're packed with only the business building training that you want. Lessons, concepts, examples, and insights right out of their $100 MBA training and community. Both Omar and Nicole are experienced educators and have quickly built an incredible community that we will chat about today, along with many other things. Hello, Omar and Nicole, and welcome to the show.
Hey, Josh. Thank you so much for having us. We're very excited.
Yeah, Josh, it's nice to be here.
Absolutely. You guys are doing a great job. We met at Podcast Movement 2014, and I'm so happy to have you on the show today and talk just a little bit about the $100 MBA, the concept for it, and then we're going to dive into some real principles, some real business principles and takeaways that people can take from the show. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
So I love on your website, just to kind of kick things off, that you guys say that you've been sticking it to business school since 2013. Can you explain a little bit about that and sort of how that's added to your branding of the $100 MBA?
Well, a lot of the people that are involved in the 100 LBA know that Nicole and I were educators for over 13 years. We taught at the high school and university level. I was an administrator for over 5 years and was in middle management. So we saw some of the dark side of education and especially higher education that a lot of people are not exposed to. And we really wanted to, provide an alternative solution to people who want to learn business so they can use it in a practical way and not go into $150,000 in debt. And obviously, it's an outlandish statement to say, I'm going to provide you an MBA education for $100. And that's what we're trying to do with the $100 MBA, is shake things up a little bit and provide alternative business education to anybody who is interested and has $100.
Now, you were in business school at one point, weren't you, Omar?
Yes. So I have a bachelor's and a master's in teaching in English. And when I made my full-time jump to entrepreneurship, because I did a lot of side hustling while I was in education, I made a decision to apply to business school. I applied to Wharton Business School, got accepted, was very excited, and said, hey, I should get an MBA since I'm going to be this business person now, and that's the only way I'll get credibility and all that stuff. So I attended for a semester, and towards my end of my first semester, my marketing professor advised me to drop out. And I said to him, I didn't understand why, but he basically advised me that you don't get an MBA to get to be a great entrepreneur. You get an MBA to get a middle management job in Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley. And that's my advice to people: is if you want to work for a Fortune 500 company in those types of areas, then maybe an MBA is a good idea. I still don't think it's a good investment because it's extremely expensive, and people graduate with MBA degrees and still have no jobs. So that's a different story. But if you are looking to build something for yourself, you want to run a business, build a business, I think that there are alternatives, and one of them is the $100 MBA.
Now, is most of what you're doing, is it focused on online businesses, or is it for online and offline businesses?
We make sure that the content that we provide can apply to both. We often, in our lessons and our courses, we offer an example of both the online world and the offline world, because we believe that business skills are transferable, either online or offline. And now they're actually becoming very much alike. Even on offline businesses, brick and mortar businesses, need to have an online presence. Even if they're not taking orders, they need to have some way to attract their clients to their store. So we try to cater to both and make sure that people feel that they have what they need. And we also keep communication quite open, so people can ask questions at any time and ask specific questions about their specific situations.
Well, that's fantastic, because really I completely agree with you. Both online and offline, they really flow into the same funnel nowadays. I think I heard, I don't know if this statistic is exactly correct, but I think you'll get the general gist of it, or the audience will, is that 70% of buying decisions are made before anybody even contacts you. And that's because they're going online to see what you're all about, even though you can be an offline business. So it's all really merging into one, sales and marketing and all that good stuff. I mean, it's all just becoming really marketing in essence, but the online and offline components are really just one and the same. And I think you're right. And I see that a lot in franchising, by the way, where a lot of franchises are still not doing a great job of that, but they're slowly learning.
Yeah.
So let's talk about franchising a little bit. In franchising, many people that become franchisees have little to no business ownership experience, and I think that's sort of interesting in and of itself, right? But what do you think is the first and most important thing that they should learn about as they get their feet wet in small business ownership?
It's a really good question. I think a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot, but there are some people that go into franchise type situations because they want to transition from being an employee to a business owner in a smooth way, because there are still constraints. There's still people directing you. There is a path to take, and some people see it as like an easy way to transition. I think the best way to be successful in any business, but especially in a franchise business, is two things. One, understanding who you're serving. I think a lot of people just look at the product and say, "Oh, I'll just open up a McDonald's, or I'll open up, a In-N-Out burger, and go ahead. And that's a great product and it sells." But you have to understand your clientele, who you're serving, because the way you deliver the product is really what's going to dictate your success. So I think really understanding who you're serving is number one, and number two, your management skills have to be that's the number one thing that people really struggle with, especially in franchise businesses, is how are they going to manage not only their employees, but their time, the resources, the traffic that they're dealing with, foot traffic, things like that. So I think there's a lot of things that people need to understand when it comes to management. And we have, a full course on leadership and management in the $100 MBA that we really think is important, especially people that are starting out with a franchise, because all of a sudden you're inheriting all these management responsibilities. It's not like growing an online business that is just you, then you get into VA, and then you grow slowly. I think those two things, understanding your audience and having solid management skills.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think the most important attribute that a franchisee owner operator can have, and I talk a lot about it a lot on my show, is that they really have to be exceptional operators and managers, because that's really what you are. I mean, you're a business owner, yes, but you need to be able to operate within a system, within somebody else's system, and manage a system, manage your employees, manage business flow, everything that you talk about. In fact, I think you just had a recent podcast episode on management, didn't you?
Yes, we're actually in that series right now. We're talking about what makes a great manager, what makes great leaders, the differences between the two.
Well, and so it's kind of interesting to me because, there's no shortage of people that want to go out there and do their own thing. And what I'm finding, what I've found over the years, is that there's a lot of people that don't take the time up front to really think about what they're going to dive into first. They see a business opportunity. In my experience, they'll see a franchise like a Subway or something where they'll say, "Oh, gee, I want to own a Subway," but they've never really thought about the underlying business model. They don't really understand the underlying business model. I'm curious in what you're dealing with your training programs. Are you guys providing any training or any assistance to people to kind of help them make that decision, so that this would be before they decide they want to launch a business? What kind of skills do they bring to the table? What kind of attributes do they bring? I mean, what kind of, because some people just shouldn't be business owners. They don't know exactly what it's going to be like, even though they have sort of this dream of doing it. And that's okay. But I think a lot of people can save a financial investment if they learn that ahead of time. Do you guys do any training on that?
Yeah, we do a lot of that in the $100 MBA. In that free course you mentioned, the idea validation course, we talk about that a bit. There's two things we discuss. There's one that what you bring up is, is entrepreneurship for you in general? Like maybe you just need a new job. Maybe you just need a job, maybe a new career change. It has nothing. You're just a little burnt out. It's not. I always say that I hate my job doesn't equal I want to be an entrepreneur. Now having said that, you also have to choose what entrepreneurship, type of life do you want to live? What kind of business do you want to open? If you want to open up a Dunkin' Donuts and you want to travel the world, those are not compatible. When you're first starting out, you're going to have to really work a lot of hours. You got to be there. Most Dunkin' Donuts are 24 hours. And even if you manage a team and you have people hired, it's going to take you some time to really get to the point where it can be completely automated. And even then, you need to be kind of on call all the time. And I know that in a lot of franchises like Dunkin' Donuts, you can't just open one and that's it. You have to open 10 within a certain amount of time. And you have to kind of keep on growing. And that's something you have to kind of stay local in. And you have to know that neighborhood. You have to know your clientele. So think about the life you want to live. Think about your lifestyle, what you want to do. And don't think, oh, I do want to travel, so I must start an online business. That's not necessarily always true. There's online businesses that require a lot of your time, that require a lot. It's not a scalable business. It's not just sell a product and it just automates itself. There's a lot of service issues. There's a lot of things that you have to kind of follow up on, as well as content creation is using, the idea of creating content through blogs, through podcasts or videos. And that takes a lot of time, and that takes a lot of, the ability to kind of sit down and do this. So, I mean, it all depends on how you want to live your life. If you enjoy your town and you don't want to move ever and you maybe want to just take a week off a year, then maybe you can, find a business that suits that. And if that's not the case, then you need to kind of look at different directions.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point that you raised. And I'd love to hear both of you comment on this, because I think you'll probably, Nicole and Omar, I think you guys will bring a little bit of a different perspective to this, because I know you do different aspects of your business. But, the more I look at automated businesses, and I know, we've got the 4-Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss, and everybody, seems like everybody's trying to build that online business that is just automated. It's somewhat, in my opinion, a little bit of a farce, because it's automated in the sense of maybe some sequencing and some follow-ups. But like you just pointed to, there's a ton of work that goes into it. I don't know any successful online entrepreneur, and I know a lot of the most successful ones right now, that don't put a ton of work into it. It's just a different kind of work. I'd be curious with what you guys are doing, the kind of workload that goes into what each of you guys are bringing to the table at $100 MBA.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in here. I mean, I know we said at the top of the interview that Omar is the business side and I'm more the creative side, but I do bring a different perspective to the business, because I was also a teacher, and then I chose to leave my job because I wanted to follow something more creative and I wanted freedom. And so there's an irony in the sense that you being an independent entrepreneur, you do have a lot of freedom, but at the same time, what you're alluding to is 100% correct. What I've learned is that it's 24/7, and we're very honest about the fact that you live and breathe your business. Now, we enjoy that, we do like that, we choose we know what it entails, but day in, day out, we are thinking about our business. We are working with our community. We're working on content creation. We're managing different aspects. It's constant. It doesn't mean that we can't, take days off and, relax or travel. But even then, when we're traveling, we're talking about our business.
Yeah.
We're still managing aspects of our business. So it is a lifestyle. That's the greatest thing I've discovered, is that it's a lifestyle.
I think it's really important to define work. What does work mean to you? Like, the 4-hour work week or whatever. Now, I just caught one of Gary Vaynerchuk's videos. He has this video show going on now, Ask Gary V. And he talks about the fact that you have to like the grind. You have to like the day in and day out of what you have to enjoy this and solving problems and dealing with issues. That has to be enjoyable to you in whatever you're doing, or you're not going to make it, to be honest, because it's just going to be too painful. Because the alternative of going back to a 9 to 5 is a lot more enjoyable, because you have time off, you have weekends, you have these things going on. But when you enjoy the 9 to 5 of your business, it's not seen as painful. It's seen as, the more I put into it, the better it's going to be. Obviously, you don't want to burn out. You want to be balanced, and you want to make sure that you're healthy and you're making time for your body and rest. But you have to make sure that whatever you're doing is enjoyable. Otherwise, it's just going to be not worth it for you.
Well, yeah, and like you said, when you guys travel, you're still working. So I think there's that distinction between the lifestyle business, where you can get up and go anywhere and conduct your business from multiple geographic locations, but you're still doing work on your business. And I could not agree with you more. I mean, I just the other day, you go to lunch and you overhear people talk about business stuff, and it's just it's striking to me, because you can immediately tell a difference in mindset between people when you overhear somebody at lunch talking about how they can't wait for their they get 2 weeks off a year, and talking about all the different aspects of their business and how they're looking forward to retiring and all that stuff. And I'm saying to myself, I can never imagine that, because it just kind of blends into who I am and what I do.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think Gary V is exactly right. I mean, you have to love the grind, because I don't care what business you're starting, if it's online or offline. I mean, you're going to have stress, right? I mean, there is stress. And I think that ties into it's a good segue into my next question, which ties into perhaps the most stressful thing of any business, and that is cash flow. Most business owners at some point in time deal with cash flow issues, and I'd be curious what your recommendation is on steps or ways in which new business owners can alleviate some of these concerns and ward off the typical cash flow issues that most businesses experience.
Well, most new businesses make the critical mistake of thinking they need to spend a lot when they first get started, thinking their overhead expenses need to be a certain amount, when in actuality, it can be a lot less. A lot of us think, in order for us to be credible, we have to have this, that, and the other thing, instead of growing the business as we grow in revenue. A lot of people spend a lot of money on trying to understand what to do. Part of the reason why the $100 MBA is so inexpensive is because I see too many people dropping $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 on courses left and right, on very specific things, and then they, all that money could have been used to help start up their business, and they would learn a whole lot more if they just started doing it. I give this analogy a lot, where people, imagine I sat in a room with you for 4 days, or let's say 4 weeks. I sat in a classroom with you for 4 weeks and showed you with a whiteboard and a marker how to play basketball. This is what you do. This is how you're supposed to hold the ball. This is the rules, all that stuff. And then after the 4 weeks, I tell you, okay, go ahead and go play basketball. Go try out for the NBA. You'd be like, what are you talking about? I never played before.
Exactly.
You have to pick up the ball, and you have to go ahead and shoot some hoops and hit a few bricks and a few air balls. And you realize, okay, too short, too long. I got to adjust. And the same thing goes with business. You have to learn and then go ahead and adjust, learn and implement. And I think a lot of people, spend too much money prior, thinking that I need to learn all these things. I need to, get this degree, all this stuff, in order for me to feel like I have permission to start. And then 2, they start out thinking these, they have their business in their mind, and they're like, it's this grand idea and this grand business. And really, that's version 10 of their business. They need to start out with version 1 and then start building 2, 3, 4 as they grow in revenue. Now, in terms of cash flow, I really believe that you can start with very little. And once you start making some money, getting the feeling of making some money with a business, you make a sale, you take that money and you reinvest in your business. as much as possible. A lot of people do this in the beginning, especially if they still have a job or they have a runway of savings. So, understand that you should be there for the long run. And if you can start making some money in the beginning with your expenses down and then start building out your business, you should be okay. Facebook was just a bunch of kids in a dorm room, and now they're like this huge complex in California. So, I mean, you have to start somewhere and then grow slowly.
So here at Franchise Euphoria, we're big on systems and believe that all businesses, regardless of whether they are franchises or even seek to be franchises, need to have systems in place to maximize their efficiency, their growth, and ultimately their profit, and to remain somewhat sane along the way. Do you have specific ways in which you recommend business owners build systems or figure out the systems that are needed for their particular businesses?
Yeah, definitely. I think also it ties in with managing yourself and managing your time. What Nicole and I do in our own business is we sat down and we realized, what are my strengths? What are her strengths? And what does she feel comfortable with? What does she enjoy? What do I enjoy? And we delegated our tasks that way, and we managed these different things, and Nicole is in charge of all the production of all our videos, all our podcasts, everything. And if she's making an editing decision or she's making any type of decision in her department, she has full reign to do that. And it's actually recommended that she just goes ahead and make a decision, because we can't keep on second guessing each other. And that wastes too much time and too much resources, to be honest. And it also takes away from the work I would have to do, or vice versa. So managing and delegating tasks is very, very important. And that is a part of the system, is that you understand that this is my job. I have to fulfill it. Once it's done, I pass it on. And it's very clear. A lot of times we think things are clear, and a lot of times Nicole and I will have to revisit our systems and say, I thought you were doing that. No, I'm doing that. Oh, I was just helping out that time. That you have to kind of make sure that it's clear throughout and revisit things so things stay smooth. Like you said, systems are very important because, and I want to highlight, you really do need to revisit your system, because sometimes as you grow in your business, you're going to need to change things out. You need to hire new people. You need to outsource this part of the system. You need to train somebody up to do it, because you can't just hold on to the same system. Again, if you look at any other business or franchise, when they first got started with a few stores, 4 or 5 stores, it's going to be a lot different when they have hundreds of stores, because the management of it is going to be quite different. So revisit your systems often so you can make sure that you're growing with your systems are growing with your business.
Yeah, I love that point. I mean, it's so true that, systems are not stagnant. And it's very rare that you have a business. I'm not sure I've ever seen a business that starts off with their business plan and already has their systems in place. It goes to your point earlier where, you can consume all the information you want, but you got to get in the game and start doing things. And that's how you're going to build your systems. I mean, I know with my law practice, I tried to implement systems before I even got started. And it was sort of like, what a waste, because you just don't even, you don't know what you don't know. But at the same time, what I think a lot of entrepreneurs fall into the trap of doing and doing and doing. And as Michael Gerber would say, working in their business instead of on their business.
Yeah.
And they never get to the systems, which is a whole nother problem, right?
Yeah.
And I would add to that as someone who came into to business fairly fresh, is that really understanding where your strengths are, because we often try and think we can do everything. And there are a lot of things that we can do. I mean, Omar was saying, don't spend money where you don't need to. You don't need a huge team. There are a lot of things you can handle yourself. But when you really analyze your strengths and you work with those strengths, then there are things that you can do and there are things that you really shouldn't do. And you need to give those to somebody else.
So I want to switch gears a little bit here, and I want to ask you guys, both of you, I'd love to get both of your thoughts on this, sort of a series of questions. And I just want to know the first thing that pops in your mind after hearing the question. I think this is a good way for the audience to just get to know you a little bit better. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, here it is. What's the most important business or other discovery that you have made in the last year?
You want to take this, Nicole?
Okay. The most important business discovery: stop comparing yourself to someone else. just be yourself. Do things your way.
Love
That's mine. Yeah.
Mine would be the only way to succeed is to differentiate through your strengths. You need to discover what your strengths are. That includes your experience, what you've been working on for the last few years, what you're passionate about. All that stuff works into your strengths. And that's how you differentiate. That's how you zag when everybody else is zigging.
What is one word you would use to describe yourself as a child?
Oh gosh, how do we go there? One word. Can I say 2 words? I think I was a people pleaser. I always wanted to make others happy.
I think curious. I think I was very curious as a child. I asked a lot of questions.
Now you got to fill in the blank here. If you really knew me, you'd know.
For me, I would say you'd know I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan.
Nice.
Oh, mine's going to sound so boring in comparison. I'm a warrior. Yeah, you're laughing.
Somebody's got to be a warrior.
Exactly. It's the yin and yang. There you go. What characteristic do you most admire in others?
Humility. I think that often you'll see people change a lot as they grow and become more successful in business or in life. And I'm always humbled by people that have a large share of success and still stay humble and still have the perspective to realize that, this is just what they're given in their life.
I think kind of similar, generosity. I really admire people that are both generous. We're all busy. We wear busy as a badge, but being generous with your time is something that I really admire.
And finally, given one choice, would you rather be liked or respected?
I definitely would like to be respected.
Yeah, same. Definitely.
Yeah, I think I've given up on being liked.
Well, there you go. And the people pleaser, Nicole, you've even given up on that. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. That was me as a child. Now I've switched it up, but definitely respect. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for playing along with that. That's just something I just started asking a couple people, and I just thought it was a way for the audience to get to know you a little beyond the business. And, it's obvious from just talking to you this short time that you guys have a great thing going on. And I would encourage everybody to go check out what you're doing. Can you take a moment? I know you guys have a new lab that you're doing, I think for a select few people. And maybe just in closing out, just highlight anything else you'd like to highlight and let people know where they can reach you.
Sure. Well, they can always reach us at 100mba.net. That's 100mba.net. And a little bit about the lab program. We just launched this just 2 days ago. It's a private coaching session or coaching program. It's 3 months program that we're going to be doing with myself, with a small select of people. We're going to take 15 people on. And it's not just a mastermind or something like that. We are educators and we're all about getting results. And we're actually guaranteeing that you'll double the money that you invest in this program in your next business, in the business that you're going to be working on with us. And what we're going to be doing is having weekly calls on Google Hangouts with small groups of 5, where everybody's going to know exactly what they have to do the coming week. They're going to be given assignments. They're going to be given, feedback on their websites and their businesses. And it's really us, trying to ensure everybody in the group has a successful business. If they don't have one already, that they're launching one that's successful and that they're actually making sales. They're actually making money, which is critical to success in business. You want to affect the world, you want to help people, but to remain sustainable and to continue to do the positive things, you need to, bring in the revenue. So that's the lab program. It's something that we're really excited about because we're looking forward to sharing the success stories of the members that are there as we grow the lab program. But right now we're only taking 15. But if anybody's interested in applying, they can apply at 100mba.net/lab, LAB. And just like you mentioned, if anybody's interested in learning more about us, they can check out the website or they can check out our podcast, which is the $100 MBA Show podcast, which we've gotten over 10,000 listeners a day, which is a huge honor. And we would love any of your audience to join us there. So they can check us out on iTunes or Stitcher.
Wow, that's fantastic. You guys are definitely in fuego right now. So keep that going. You guys are doing some great stuff. I look forward to staying in touch with you, and thank you so much for your time today and your expertise. And I would encourage everybody to go check out what you've got going on at $100MBA.net. So thanks again.
Thank you, Josh. We love what you're doing too. It was really an honor to be on the show.
Yeah, and we do a lot of these interviews, and you did a fantastic job.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Thank you. I so appreciate that.
Thanks for being with us today on the Franchise Euphoria podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to go to iTunes and provide a review. Also, please remember that although Josh Brown is a licensed and practicing attorney, nothing contained in this podcast should be construed as legal advice, because it is not. The information contained in this podcast is general and educational in nature, and none of it should be relied upon as legal advice. That being said, if you have questions for Josh and would like to contact him, please email him at josh@franchiseeuphoria.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you tune in to our next weekly episode.